Some of you probably know Irina very well. Some of you may have worked with her. Some of you may have seen how and why she's one of the leading experts in the field. Irina, if you don't mind, in just a few words to tell us what you'll be talking about specifically with your guests while they prepare the stage.
Of course. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us, and thank you, Alex, for introducing us. It's super cool to be back on this stage. We're very mindful of the time, so we'll try to marathon through our panel. Yes, thank you. And it's also really cool that the keynote speaker before us kind of bridged this topic of data and data infrastructures towards our panel. So, without further ado, should I give this back to you? Okay, cool. I know I said that we'll marathon through it, so to begin with, I'd like us to do a bit of a imagination exercise that I think could be relevant to most of the people who are in this room. So imagine you're a social worker, right? You have a list of beneficiaries that you're supposed to cater to and you're supposed to check upon regularly. But then the list of those beneficiaries has been built on data that is 2 years old. That data lives in 3 different systems, they don't talk to each other, and it was last updated by somebody who doesn't even work there anymore. You're obviously doomed to fail as a social worker in this case. But the problem isn't the fact that you lack compassion. You're failing because the infrastructure beneath you is actually broken. And to solve the gap, to solve the issue of broken infrastructure, this is where actual, accurate, secure, transparent, and trustworthy data comes in hand. We build roads so that cities can work. We build energy grids so that our homes can function. We build social security systems so we can cater to the most vulnerable. But as long as we look at this solely as a sort of infrastructure that is physical, we have become very blind to the fact that the actual underlying layer is the data layer that is supposed to change how the government is serving citizens and how the government is overrunning the entire paradigm of citizen-driven public services. The question isn't that we don't have systems. We have them. We know that we have them. The question is, how do we build resilient systems that have resilient data infrastructure beneath them as a layer so that the citizens are actually seen? And to answer this question, I'm joined here today by 4 panelists who all come from different sectors, but who all have a bit of a section of that answer. So I would like to welcome on stage Dumitru Puslaru, Secretary of State for the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, Karina Novak, Secretary of State, Ministry of Energy, Andreea Antigolan, Secretary of State at the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, and Sehera Riner, our Deputy Representative for UNDP Moldova. All right. So, not to take too much time off everybody's, I'd like to start with Dumitru. I know that the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection has been one of the pioneers trying to use data to overshift this paradigm towards citizen-driven decision-making and data-driven public services that serve specifically the most vulnerable. Where do you see the biggest opportunities for us as a country to make that shift more sustainable, more efficient, and all of this kind of building into the vision of 2030 when we as a country become part of the EU family?
Thank you, Irina. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. At the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection, we think that all things digital are there to service what is most essential, and that is our common humanity. The social sector is not exactly the hottest topic, but when you think of it, 2/3 of the state budget goes there. That's over 50 billion leis. And there is a lot. Data infrastructure, when we get it right, can completely transform the experience from bureaucratic process to a citizen experience. And at the end of it, at the end of the day, it's all about us, you know, humans. Extremely fascinating, unpredictable. So I'll give you an example of what we achieved, and that is the winter support through the Energy Vulnerability Fund, and the system that we built that is called EVRF, shorthand. It was built in a record time of under 3 months in the midst of perhaps the most severe energy crisis we had. But nonetheless, it's not about the speed of the development. It's about what the citizens gained with this system. Because before to apply and to receive the support, it would take stacks of physical papers, multiple visits to the social assistant. Nowadays, anyone with a phone or with a computer can apply within 5 minutes. And the application is done, and the magic happens behind the scenes. The system automatically calculates the parameters, the eligibility criteria, the financial support, sends it to the House of National Insurance, and the beneficiary receives it, the household receives it on their bank account or at the postal office. So that's just one example. And if we compare it to before, there is another point here, which is that previously, only those who knew could apply to these programs. We saw that in the data as well, like some districts had 4 or 5 times the number of beneficiaries compared to other districts. But, vulnerability is across the country. So it brings back a focus on the need of the people and not just on the geography. So with another, and perhaps the most important thing in terms of digital we're doing is we're trying to consolidate. You mentioned the different systems, 3. We actually had like 14 different registers and all databases. And we're building this thing under the umbrella of eSocial, where we gain, we already integrated the Energy Vulnerability Support Program. We have case management, which is the backbone of the social sector. We plan to add employment. We recently launched the daily labor system for those people that work in agriculture, so that they can have a decent pension when they retire. Disability, you name it. Everything under one umbrella, so that the view is one profile, one coordinated response, one citizen. So that the social worker, instead of spending and wasting this time searching through the same or multiple different systems, they can get one view and understand what the situation is. Instead of the government being reactive, we're building it, and we're heading towards it being proactive, and so that we can target these people before they end up in a vulnerable situation. Because when we think of it, we want all people to become productive members of society, and we know how much more difficult it is to help those who are already in a vulnerable position, as opposed to preventing that. Similar to medicine, prevention is the best cure. Just wrapping.
That's great. Thank you so much, and I really love how you put the citizen at the core in this sense, because I truly believe that resilient public systems not just only have to be citizen-centric, but they also have to see the person behind the citizen, that identity, and to be able to prevent before the crisis strikes. And what you guys have been doing at the ministry has been incredible so far, so good luck in the future and keep up. And I love how you also mentioned that throughout your speech, your systems are already interconnected with other sectors, such as energy, such as agriculture. And with this, I would like to shift towards Karolina Nowak, representing a ministry that has become an example of resilience, truly, specifically in the last couple of months, the last year. Moldova, as a country, being at a crossroads of cyber attacks, cyber threats, energy crisis, but at the very same time with very limited resources, but with huge drive and capacity, we have managed to pull through. So my question to you is, with us trying to tackle market diversification, market integration, modernization of the energy grid, how do you think that we can embrace the agility of this shift, basically, and build on this momentum to be able to create a grid that, again, sees the household before the crisis strikes, sees the neighborhood that overpays for their energy bill, and tries to tackle these issues way beforehand so they can, you know.
Thank you, Irina. It's a pleasure for me to be here, and I would actually not focus particularly on the crisis, but rather on the opportunities that also the massive energy transition has brought and the positive transformations we have managed in the past years. And indeed, when we think about the energy sector, we shouldn't just think about transformers, power lines, I don't know, interconnections, gas-fired power plants, meters, and so on and so forth. We should also think about data and the role that data plays for a resilient energy sector as such. Likewise, we shouldn't just think about, I don't know, megawatts, kilotep in the classical form or cubic meters. We should think, in fact, about the availability of data, the good access of that data, and as well the well-provided services towards our citizens. And I want to underline here one aspect. In the energy sector, we have this concept of 3 Ds. So decarbonization, decentralization, so towards big gas-fired power plants or one CHP, towards more decentralized type of generation, so which renewables are already doing, right? And the 3rd D is digitalization. And for us, this is the cornerstone as well in the energy transition. And one such example is, in fact, with the smart meters, which, thanks to the Italian government support of roughly 10 million euros, we managed to implement, and we are doing so still with the support of UNDP, deploying smart meters of 100,000 towards our citizens, and by 2027 this will be implemented. And what is the role of smart meter? Basically, you could see better at distance without going and checking at each and every household how much is being consumed, where is being consumed, and who is consuming that electricity. And that information can also be of help for future aggregators, right? Imagine the energy communities you could shape as well. And we already have 4 of these energy communities, but also reducing losses, the technical losses that each of us are paying as to the distribution system operator. So it's basically about the efficiency of a better electricity system. Then, even more than that, this comes to, in terms of better bills for our consumers, because we have created also these dynamic tariffs that since last year, around January 2025, the national regulator has approved. So basically, we have already the daily and night tariff as well. And some businesses are utilizing this and applying this tariff for a more efficient type of consumption. A second concept that we are working right now is this national registry of consumption points. And that will also help EVRF, the Energy Vulnerability Reduction Fund, to understand better who is consuming how much and what sort of compensation we should provide. But also in terms of better forecasting, because this information can then be provided and it's being shared between the DSOs, but also suppliers and the state authorities. And clearly here the trust plays an important role, because if citizens and consumers as such, they do not have trust in the data that is being shared or that is being stored, then we will not be able to deploy these tools either. And the same goes with the eco-voucher program, which in fact, or Casa Verde, the greenhouse program, where beneficiaries have to share this information, private information, with the National Center of Sustainable Energy. And in absence of this data, in absence of trust, ultimately, we cannot really deploy all of these measures. One key objective we have at the Ministry of Energy is to increase the electricity consumption from 10%, what we have currently, to roughly 65% in 2050. So the question is, how do we manage to do that in a reliable way, in a transparent way, but also still solid and resilient, right, for our electricity system, and expanding electricity consumption in the transport sector and as well heating sector. And this is where cybersecurity comes as well. And this topic is rather fresh for us, but we are very much focused in terms of applying these protocols for the transporters, distributors, in terms of operation, also suppliers, because they have to map and also do a full audit in terms of both their physical infrastructure, but as well non-physical infrastructure, and make sure that we have the most resilient digital systems like SCADA and so on and so forth. So the question is, how do we make the energy transition as such to be a resilient one, to be also capable to secure this market coupling in 2028, because that's when we will integrate our electricity system with the European one, and to store this data securely, to provide this trust to people as we go forward.
Thank you so much, Carolina. It's very inspiring to hear that the big targets that we have in only some couple of years left to do, and no pressure here, truly. But it's inspiring to see the inspiration behind your speech, behind your vision, and I'm pretty sure that data is just numbers in a way, but it's the people behind that data that actually drive change. And I think that we can truly reach those targets by the set goals that we have. And now moving from the grid to the land, some could say that Moldova is usually thought of in terms of agriculture, but also the ICT sector. And this being said, I would like to move to the next speaker, to Adrian Digolan. I know that the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry has been building this incredible transformer of a register called the Electronic Farmers Register that is specifically built, as I said before, towards seeing the end beneficiary, seeing that the farmer that requires or is entitled to receive compensations or subsidies. And I know that there's a lot of work being put behind the system. My question to you is that what concretely do you think would change for that individual farmer once the register is operational? And what is the vision towards us integrating into the EU single market? How does this farmers register help us, or is supposed to help us integrate easier?
Thank you very much for a question. Dear, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for this invitation, and thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you for giving the opportunity to the Minister of Agriculture and Food Industry to be here and to speak about digitalization in agriculture. Even in agriculture, we need digitalization now. Indeed, the agriculture in the Republic of Moldova is one of Moldova's most important sector. But thanks to agriculture, we are developing rural communities, we are creating jobs, we contribute to the export, we are keeping the villages alive, and very important, we are contributing to the growing of national economy. But from another side, I have to stress that modern agriculture, it doesn't it's not longer it is no longer driven by only by machines, equipment, crops, land. It is driven already by data, and for Moldova this is not an exception. So if you want to have good policies, good agricultural policies, you need to have good agricultural data. So that's why Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry, together with our European partners, thanks to the support of UNDP, now we are building the foundation of modern agricultural information system called the Integrated Administration and Control System, together with two of two of most known and most important modules. I'm speaking about the Digital National Farm Register, and the second one, Land Parcel Identification System. Thanks to this, we will have a better support for farmers, we will have better public investments, and we will have a better preparation for the EU integration. Speaking about these two modules, I want to say that DNFR, Digital National Farm Register, is already done. So he's working on the test platform now. It's a lot of work to be done in order to collect data from farmers and to populate this register. So we have now around 20,000 contacts, but we need more because we have in Moldova around 80,000, 90,000 of farmers, so it will be a very, very difficult and interesting process of collecting of data. But within the process of creating YACS, a very important process is the development of a land parcel identification system. Because we need to have a better understanding of how the agricultural land is used by farmers. So in this regard, LPs, it's an instrument, and thanks to geospatial information, thanks to modern mapping technologies, we will develop the system. I want to say that digital transformation, even in agriculture, in energy, it's not possible without cooperation between institutions. And in this regard, I want to say that we have a very good cooperation with cadastral authorities, with e-governance agency as well. But these days we have signed a very interesting memorandum of understanding with Agency of Geodesy, Cadastre and Cartography. And I want to say that at this moment, Republic of Moldova is already scanned around 60% of the total area. So that meaning that we can proceed for developing of these agricultural physical blocks. So it's a lot of work to be done, and this process have to be finished at the end of 2027. But thanks to a good cooperation of all the institutions, I think we have good chances to succeed. There are some problems because it's not possible to scan with airplanes all the territory because of a border war situation, so there are some problems, but I think until the end of 2027 we will succeed. Thanks to YACS, I think our farmers will have a better support, even from the National Fund, and speaking about the funds given by European Union. It's a condition to have and to implement these two models. And thank you once again, UNDP, because now we have established in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Industry a mini IT hub. So we have some really good specialists in IT development, and we are working together day by day in order to have this module ready. Yeah.
That's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, listening to all the tremendous work across all of these three sectors, I am impressed by the fact that usually the public sector looks at data as a byproduct of administration, but in our case, us being a small country but very driven by digital transformation, we're looking at data as that transparent and invisible layer that actually drives change. And you also mentioned cooperation, and indeed, cooperation between institutions is incredibly important. And looking at all the work that has been done on data so far, I'm pretty sure that we're 2 steps closer to actually building a digital twin for our country, considering all the massive data that we have. And now, I would like to move on to Seher. UNDP has been sitting transversally pretty much over all these sectors, not just energy, social protection, agriculture. We've been trying to invest and support digital transformation across various sectors in order to build sustainability, and this is the interesting part, because digital transformation requires a lot of trust. It's very risky. Most donors don't want to invest straight away. But the UNDP has proven that taking that risk actually brings forward wonderful results, and it's the people behind that effort. So my question to you is, now having this helicopter view across all the experience, across all these different sectors, what do you think the rest of the world should look at in Moldova and learn from our experience of building digital transformation sustainably?
Works, yeah? Okay, thank you very much, Irina. Thank you very much again, for inviting us for this very important event. Indeed, UNDP has been working across different sectors to advance the digital transformation in Moldova from energy, social protection, agriculture, public services, local governance. So, and Moldova is indeed teaching us something very important about the future of and the next phases of digital transformation. For many years, as we, UNDP and the governments see that digital transformation was mainly about the technological agenda, but indeed, it is right now going more beyond that. Of course, investments on the digitalizing services, building databases or creating platforms are very important and still remains as essential investments for digital transformation. But what is right now becoming much more important is that in the next phase of digital transformation, right now we need to focus less on technology, but more on the governance aspects of it. So across the different sectors that we have been working, we see that there is a common just pattern. So it is not only digitalizing the institutional, the individual institutions, but right now what is more important is that for this enabling these institutions to work together and to respond to the emerging and the real needs of the citizens. So, for instance, a farmer, would be not, they don't care about which systems, which databases, they need to just apply, or when a vulnerable, energy vulnerable household, is interested to get compensation, they are also interested to see the practical elements, where to just approach, and increasing the citizens are also right now expected to see these connections between different services, which should be also just reliable and accessible for them. So at this point, this is why, data becomes a form of public infrastructure, like the way that the roads are connected to each other, or the electricity just connects the households. The interoperable data systems also connects the institutions. So this is very key. And digital identities, the shared registries, the secure databases, and also, evidence-based decision-making is right now building the essential elements of the modern governance systems. So in Moldova, there is a great opportunity, because right now, in different areas, in different sectors, there is a huge and ambitious reform agenda. And, while just addressing the policy aspects, and if it is combined with the digital transformation agenda, this will create the real impact. As another lessons learned that we had is that, this digitalization technology is not alone just the end goal, but what creates the lasting impact is that, how to embed digitalization into the institutions. This means that you need to also invest in cybersecurity, clear rules for sharing data, or the capacities. So these are equally important, and in addition to the modern technological tools that we will use. And for us as UN and UNDP, it is essential that this process will be inclusive as well. So what we expect from digital transformation is to reduce the inequalities, but not creating new ones, and this is where it comes from the trust. And in fact, digital transformation has a huge potential to redesign just the relationship between the state and the citizens. So this is equally important for us. So in a nutshell, just coming back to your just initial question, what the world should watch, from in Moldova is not a single platforms, not single applications, but how systems, data systems and the institutions connect each other, to just respond collectively to the needs of the citizens, and the citizens will look at how simple, how fast, and how reliable and also accessible the services are. So for future of the digital transformation, we will rather focus on these elements, and it is just turning increasingly into just a governance transformation.
Thank you so much. I really love how both Daniela in the initial panel and you in this one mentioned the importance of governance, and especially in digital transformation. Again, because governance is about people. You cannot take people outside of this loop of trying to build digitally driven services, platforms, anything you want to do. You have to have the human-centric mindset in the beginning of the entire process, and governance is at the epicenter of that. So I had an entire final speech prepared, but all their speeches have been so inspirational so far. So what I would like us to leave this panel today is, I'd like us to do a projection into 5 years of a vision, what the data-driven state for Moldova would look like to you. How does the citizen interact with the state in 5 years from now? What do you think? Yeah, you can go.
I'll go first. Thank you, Irina. So we're trying to build a government that is not only digital, but also more human. As cliche as it sounds, it is about the human capital that we have in this country and the potential we have ahead. The previous years were proofs of our anti-fragility. Refugee crisis, multiple energy crisis, you name it. And we've been through it, and here we are. Less than a month, with EVRF, the energy support. Less than a month between registration and payment. It may not sound like a lot, but it changes completely transforms the experience for our citizens. We're talking over 700,000 households here. The same thing with the restart reform. Once you can see, and this is the kind of digitalization we aim for, where we can see based on KPIs, how many visits we have, how many elderly were supported, how many children were taken away from residential institutions, how many placements and people we have. And there's a lot of work, but this is the true meaning of digitalization as we see it, where things are transparent, they can be audited, they can be verified, and ultimately work for the benefit of the citizen. Because a couple of percentage points here saved can further bring and reinvest all these resources saved. And it is about synergy, because it goes into agriculture, it goes into the energy system, and become more, and we become better at doing it.
Thank you. Carolina?
I actually quite like the question, I have to say. So most of us right now, we are basically passive consumers. We come home, we switch on, switch off our lights or our appliances. We're not really actually having a proactive role in terms of our behavior in consumption. Okay, we are being told by authorities to reduce our electricity or in general energy consumption as much as possible, but that's pretty much it. However, there are already over 9,000 of so-called prosumers, both businesses and as well residential consumers, right? So these are those who have PVs installed on their houses. And I very much hope that in 5 years we'll just have more and more of those prosumers, well over 9,000, but perhaps even over 20,000, if not even more. And I very much hope to see those active prosumers who on an app they can say go to work and check on which type of appliances have what type of consumption, and when should they store that excess of electricity and that surplus to be stored in a battery, and use the battery at what time, and also schedule accordingly in accordance with the differentiated tariff and within the intraday market, and to be aware of when should they use that washing machine or dishwasher. So I remember seeing this smart house in Schneider, at Schneider company in Paris, and I was quite impressed about the whole digitalized system applied for all the appliances, plus PV system, battery, EV charger, and so on. And we are already doing that. In fact, with the greenhouse program, where we have launched the second call, and we hope that we will just find more available finance to extend the scope of this program. So we are talking literally about proactive consumers, more reliable information, more control on their bills and checking their type of consumption, and just not just being passive in terms of, okay, paying their bill, but also monitoring their consumption, playing an active role in this behavior. That's one aspect. And secondly, I think also just simply digitalizing fully all our energy efficiency subsystems, right? So we have a national one, we'll launch it, but just literally finalizing them. So in order to allow for all the citizens to check, say, an energy audit type of paper or, list, or energy performance registry as well, and to have a full access to all of these subsystems and to have them finished.
Awesome. Adrian, if we could make a prediction into one sentence, what does the farmer look like in interacting with the state?
It's a very difficult question, but it's a very interesting one. In 5 years, of course, we will implement and we will have integrated the administration control system operational, I'm sure. But you know, farmers they live according to another philosophy, you know, and farmers they will not care about database, they will not care about digital registries. They will simply be happy to have access to a very fast, easy to access and fair services. So this is what we are doing now in order to help farmers in the future. And we have to be honest, in the Republic of Moldova, in other countries, the dependence of the agriculture will be dependent on workforce, physical workforce. What we can do is to develop and to modernize, to digitalize as much as possible this sector. Doing this overall for the agriculture of Republic of Moldova, I think we can incent farmers to focus them on producing, on investing, on harvesting products that will make Republic of Moldova great, famous. I'm speaking about our delicious cherries, apples, plums, table grapes, and wine. So we have to incent them to produce these unique products. Thank you.
That's great. I see that we're not only working towards building a seamless digital state, but also a happy digital state. And Seher, I do see that we get arrows that from the organizer that we're supposed to get off stage. Do you think that in 5 years from now, UNDP is rebuilding the way it's going to support digital transformation and how the citizen interacts with the state?
Yeah. From 5 years onwards, you know, definitely our success indicators will be very different in digital transformation. It will no longer be the number of the digital platforms and also the tools developed, but it will very much depend on what citizens, people do not have to do. So if really Moldova does this right, and really just advances and progresses in this path, then it means that a farmer shouldn't just navigate different institutions to see what available just funds or just support will be, or just a vulnerable family, shouldn't just spend hours, to understand, which programs, social protection programs they will be qualified for. So definitely, it will just bring the citizens to access to one single digital platforms and interaction, and where behind the scenes, the government institutions are cooperating and working together. Actually, from the citizen side, it will bring much simplicity, and the complex just platforms, it will also be dealt with the government, which it should belong to, actually. So this is, again, coming back to the governance and just building up the trustworthy relations between state and citizens. This is how it will evolve, hopefully, in next 5 years to come. Do you want to make an additional point?
Yeah. Speaking about the future, last year we have organized the World Congress of Wine and Wine, and we had tens of translators. And as I understood today, we have AI, which is responsible for this translation process. So everything is changing, not in days, but in hours.
That's cool. Thank you so much, everyone, to our speakers, to our hosts. Sorry for running over time. I'll just close with 2 words. Now we got this, and in 5 years from now, I think we'll be there. So I'm really confident about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Irina. Thank you, dear guests. Please